Blessings. Let's see. I wanted to be able to sit back and just bust it over some views because I've been approached very often lately by those who are very strong in their beliefs. So it's been bringing up quite a bit of curiosity in certain mindsets to make those hold on so strongly to beliefs, even though these beliefs may not have no factual merit. One example would be when I was approached at the train station for Amtrak, a Jehovah's Witness came to me, and she was speaking of how inspiring Christ was to her life, and how she wanted to teach me about his ways, and if I would believe in how much he loved me, it will save me from damnation of my own sins. And I've heard that explanation before because I have attended Pentecostal, Baptist, and different denominations in Christianity and Catholicism churches when I was a youth. So when I started asking her questions, she had her Bible with her. When I started asking her questions and started reading with her and was like, well, why is this so? Why did they do this? You're telling me that I should base my life off this book, that this book was your greatest principle. It was the greatest teaching. It's nothing else that is more true than this book. But then when I'm confronting you about the things that are going on in this book, you're telling me to disregard those things and just listen to what Christ said. But then when I spoke to her about writings that were done of Yahushua, because Yahushua never wrote nothing. Everything was actually interpreted by people who were either there or her stories. So everything is basically third party that you're learning since he never ascribed himself. The closest thing you can call a first person party would be his wife, which was Mary. But everybody else, you can't really go off their interpretations 100% because you see within there's still little things that will contradict each other. So how are you basing yourself off first of all, when Constantine did allow those to be able to now embrace who Yahushua was, and they decided to call him Jesus, they only used 4 people who was around him to write that they called the Gospels. So when Christianity actually started with hundreds of years, it wasn't at the same point. This happened later on down when somebody decided to have their own story of falling off a horse, and this was repeated in other religions too, of falling off a horse and getting illuminated. So I understand how great, a hope is, because when I was seeing her facial expressions, what happened was her hope was still going to hold on. One thing about a belief that I see is no matter what facts are, a belief doesn't have to have facts. It's something there and true to you. It becomes personal and intimate. So you have to be delicate with this, because you can bring all the facts you want, but if the person wants to believe what they want to believe, your facts don't matter. Truth actually doesn't matter when it comes to a belief. Because what I was explaining to her was what I do practice has to deal with the fact that you have to base things on facts before you make this a true belief of your own. You have to be able to come out with a conclusion. You go through a scientific method. People think science is just things that has to do with either astrology, biology. They think in categories when actually you're doing scientific methods every day when you decide anything. Because you have to come up with a theory before you make your decision. And you have to go through a process. So with that, you collect data, everything. It's a scientific process in your life. So that's why in my own personal practices incorporate everything in a scientific way. I have to have facts. And if facts contradict your book, and there are things that are written, if I can date your religion, if I can date when everything was written, what was believed before that? There are things that are believed that are way before what you believe. And these things are actually infinite because they have not been able to date these things. They've been found all over the world as this practice that was about high and enlightened beings. And it was a great teaching. And everybody was connected. So, I just want to get some feedback on this. I want to understand how dare to somebody. I mean, because I'm trying to understand this hope. I'm not one that's good with faith. I've tried it, and it didn't amount to anything when it came to the fact that I needed facts to base anything on. I couldn't just base everything on pure, complete nothing. Everything has to come from something. I mean, even things that I've been able to find incorporated in each religion, I can even pull out a scientific basis for things when it comes to prayer and deities and spirituality and, crafts and things that they've been doing in other religions. So there are factual bases, but behind the hope that I see, there is none. So if so, can somebody be able to comment and allow me to understand that if I can contradict your belief, if I can come with complete facts that spin your whole belief around, why is it so hard to accept when someone gives you something based on truth? Why do people have to hold on so tight and not believe within themselves?